school construction project, a new West Rock middle school. As many of you saw last week, Mayor Harry Reeling and Senator Bob Duff announced that West Rock is proposed to be the next school to receive a new state-of-the-art facility. This would be our second new school. This would be our second new school construction project to benefit from the 60% state reimbursement rate that Senator Bob Duff secured in 2021. While Senator Duff couldn't be with us tonight, I want to thank him again for making it possible to build and upgrade our school facilities under this reimbursement rate for the next 23 years. The proposal to rebuild West Rock is grounded in a comprehensive data-informed evaluation. In 2021, the Norwalk Board of Education commissioned a district-wide feasibility study of all school buildings across the city. The findings were clear. West Rock was most in need of significant repairs and improvement. The building is antiquated and not conducive.
El edificio es antiguo y no conduce a las experiencias de aprendizaje que aplica la historia como los jóvenes que funcionan el día de hoy y mañana. Basado en ese estudio y otros factores, la ciudad de Norwalk y lo determinó cuál debería ser nuestro propio proyecto de construcción. El proyecto va a comenzar en el 2021. El proyecto de Norwalk, en este proyecto para West Rock, la ciudad ha previendo un periodo de construcción de 2 años en el 2030. El programa de nosotros comenzará con de instalación guiado por Aaron, seguido por una presentación de los diseños y conceptos para la nueva escuela, y también un periodo de preguntas y respuestas para mantener esto. Vamos a obtener preguntas en escrito.
Stop interpreting, you're not in the line.
Tú no sabes funcionar esto, ¿verdad que no? Si estás aquí por zona, una tarjeta índice y hacerlo para la mesa usando, me está alzando la mano. El liderazgo va a ser preguntas en el panel. Si usted está con nosotros en Zoom, por favor, un signo que pregunte y respuestas.
Code is available for you to have the access to that area in the website. I'm grateful to be joined also this evening by the panel that encompasses our Mayor, Mayor Harry Reeling, Deputy Superintendent Sarah Fayois, if you think is Alan Lowe, Building and Facilities Manager, City of Norwalk, William, also known as Bill Holdell, Director sorry about that. Bill Holdell, Director of Facilities and Maintenance, Norwalk Public Schools. Jim Giuliano, Construction Solutions Group, Board of Education Facilities Committee members, Diana Carpio, Cara Nelson Bakey, Ashley Julia, sorry, I always have a little accent, and Dr. Adam Reynolds, Principal of West Rocks Middle School. This project is about more than just brick and mortar. It's about student achievement, safety, and equity, ensuring every child learns in a modern environment that supports great teaching and collaborations. It's also about fiscal responsibility, maximizing state reimbursement, and minimizing disruption to students and families as we plan and build. I want to thank, again, the partners that made this collaboration possible and your continued support for our schools. With that, I'd like to cue the video I'd like to share a video with you, as I articulated earlier, about that tours the facility to give you some perspective of why West Rock is the selected project at this time and why this project is so important.
I'm super fortunate. This is my 8th year as principal at West Rocks. And over the last 8 years, we've gone through quite a bit. COVID happened my 2nd year. We came back and then we kind of mitigated, we figured it out. Over the last, I would say 5 to 6 years, especially coming back from COVID, we've made substantial growth both in academics, attendance, discipline, all areas. Over that time, our instruction has improved, our culture and climate has improved. Students want to show up. Our chronic absenteeism has gone down, which shows students and staff want to be here. They come every single day ready to learn and ready to thrive. Our achievement has gone up as a result. Our teachers have really focused on instruction, what that really looks like. And in the back of their mind, there's a piece that we all need to prepare for. What is it going to look like when? What is it going to look like when my ViewSonic doesn't work or blows out? What is it going to look like when the temperature goes to 95 degrees and we are one of the handful of schools in the district that needs to dismiss early, so I'm not going to see my last period class, and then we have an adjusted schedule and then have to kind of regroup because we couldn't have this or we couldn't have that, or there was a huge leak in one particular area that we had to relocate an entire class to the Learning Commons library. So because it rained today, we'll see between around 48 hours plus or minus up to 72 that it'll sink in and then just start dripping constantly. So all of those things at a moment's notice, you're carrying in the back of your mind saying, okay, this is my plan A, but I know that in plan B, if I need to reduce the number of minutes of my time, if I don't have access to this technology, if I don't have access to the space because of the leak, this is what I'm going to do. You see the leaks. Anytime the temperature gets between 70 and 80 degrees, the upper level gets really, really hot. It impacts the learning conditions in the classrooms, as well as the auditorium and spaces across. If it's cold, same thing. If we turn the heat on, the boiler turns on, we have to keep it running. However, if it's not on over a weekend, Monday morning becomes cold, then becomes teachers and kids are wearing jackets. Are we not wearing jackets? Are we wearing too much or not too much? 2 is anytime it rains or there's a potential of rain, we are planning ahead. So our custodians, for example, anytime it rains over the weekend, come in early and have to plan for where the leaks are, where the leaks aren't going to be on a day-to-day basis. We have buckets established. We have to cancel events. We have to make sure that the areas are safe for kids. So if we know that there's a regular leak in a particular area, we make sure that we have to guide students and staff around those particular areas. We have to not assign lockers because of leaks over it, but these are unusable. And you see the drips. We need to make sure that we are safe, and so I would say leaks, heating and cooling, and temperature are the 2 biggest things that we have to deal with on a regular. It breaks down about twice a year on average, and I think if we kind of and we were able to relieve ourselves of that, and you focus on just this is what we're going to do, we would continue to grow and take off. Like our teachers do the best they can with what we got. West Rocks was built in 1956. So really, traditionally, we have one outlet in each room, and there's a breaker attached to each particular area. As time has gone on, we've had ViewSonics in every single room. We've increased the use of electricity, instructional materials, Chromebooks, chargers. Because of that, we haven't really changed any electrical infrastructure. So we have breakers that blow on a regular basis. We can't have certain things plugged. It's not blowing like it's dangerous for kids or staff, but we can't have too many things on certain walls and areas, which impacts instructions and learning time. Oh my. So we can't have our ViewSonic, a teacher desktop or laptop, and students all plugged in on the same wall in 2 particular classrooms. So we have to plan ahead and make sure that one isn't or the breaker blows. So that means our custodial staff has to go, address it, unplug, plug, restart our classroom instruction. We have a need almost every day. Want a huge shout out and thank you to the City of Norwalk for everything that they've done. Like I said, I've been here 8 years, and each and every year we have a plan. We sit down with facilities. We've renovated certain areas of the building. Our cafeteria, we've renovated. The facilities department meets our need every single time we reach out, but there's only so much they can do. For example, when there's leaking upstairs, they've came in and a couple years ago, they invested many dollars in making sure at least we can put a Band-Aid or a seal on the top to make sure it was safe for our students coming in. Our city recognized that there was a parking lot issue and there were some concerns in there, and so they renovated and they worked all summer to do that. We supplement with what we got with the chairs on the end, making it accessible for all. In order to make a sustainable change, we need to not just Band-Aid certain things, is we really need something new. If we continue to repair, it is okay for a short period of time, but if we want to make sustainable growth, not have to worry about a fix and a repair on a daily basis or what the work order system is going to be, we really need a wholesale change from the ground up. And then over time, we'll see that all of the areas that needed repair will go away. We're able to focus on the things that matter, our kids in the building every single day.
This video provides perspective in why there is a need to build this building as new. I want to turn it over before we go into greater depth into the presentation to our Mayor Harry Rilling to share a few words.
Thank you, Dr. Stray, and thank you all for being here. I'd like to give acknowledgement to our team that really leads the project from the city side. That's Alan Lowe, our facilities manager, Jim Giuliani, and my chief of staff is out here in the audience, meeting on a regular basis to talk about the 25-year plan that we have for renovating or building new schools. I can tell you one reason why this school needs to be rebuilt. Looking around, I believe I'm probably the oldest person in the room, and I attended this school. And right on this stage, when I was in 7th grade, I was in a play, Japan. And I was one of the lost boys. So I have memories of the school, and it was a nice school back then. But right now, I think you can see by the presentation that it really, really needs to be rebuilt. To renovate as new is not an option right now. But I also would like to give thanks to Senator Duff for the 25-year plan of 60% reimbursement, because before that, if we built a new school in Norwalk, we'd get a reimbursement of about 23%. Now it's about 60%. So it's going to save the taxpayers of Norwalk millions and millions of dollars. And it's also, if you look back 40, 50 years ago, the last school built in Norwalk was about 40 or 50 years ago. And that's a shame because nobody paid attention. Nobody put capital funds into the budget to help maintain the school. I think the last thing that was ever done for schools might have been when Alex Knopp was in and he put some roofs on the building where the roofs were leaking. So the schools have been ignored. And you can't have a building that's going to be ignored and expect that it's going to serve you well. And I think that with this 25-year plan, since 2014 or 15, we've added a Concord Magnet School attached to PONUS. We've renovated Jefferson School, as I also attended Jefferson. We have built a new Cranberry School. And for the first time ever in 40 or 45 years, we built a South Norwalk school for the young people who live in the South Norwalk area. Up until this time, they would have to wake up at 5:30 in the morning and be bused all the way across town to go to a school where their neighbor next door, their best friend, might have been going to a different school. So this was an important process that we did. We felt it was extremely important to help these young people to get a school of which they could be proud, a neighborhood school that they could walk to and not have to take the bus. And that's one of the things which we're most proud that we were able to do. And now, as you know, we're also building a new Norwalk High School. State-of-the-art. It's going to be a beautiful school. By the way, I also attended that school. So, and we're not building them because I attended the schools. We're building them because they are absolutely necessary. So again, I want to thank the people that came out to hear what we have planned. We're excited about it. But one thing, we can have a 25-year plan to build new schools, but we also have to put money in the capital budget every single year to make sure that we maintain those buildings that were building. We've also, many of you know, a new process or a new project, all the schools are to be air conditioned. That's one of the things we heard loud and clear from many of the parents. Our children can't go to school because in June now, and in the end of May, it's 80, 85 degrees. Sometimes we've had to close schools because it's gotten so hot. So again, thank you for being here. I want to thank my team for what they've done. We're very proud of the progress we've made, and we're very proud of the vision that we have, where we're going.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll turn it now over to the team to engage in the presentation to Michael.
Thank you, Dr. Striff. Can you hear me? Thank you. So my name is Michael Lusasso. I'm with Antonazi Associates, and we were engaged by Norwalk Public Schools and the City of Norwalk to prepare a study for the for either a new or expansion of the West Rocks Middle School. We looked at the site initially, and when we started our services, the athletic fields recently been completed. So our investigations took us actually off-site, and then we returned back to site and looked at an extension adjacent to the existing building that could be constructed in phases while the school was still occupied. After further consideration of this particular option, we realized that not only the disruption of the schools, but the time that it takes to do phase construction and the complications and noise generated by construction would ultimately be disadvantageous for the development of the school. So we took a second look at the site and developed a second scheme that proposed developing the new construction on the adjacent athletic field to the south and west of the existing property. Doing this actually provides us the ability to keep the existing school active and essentially is unaffected by the construction, with the exception of the loss of the athletic fields. Some of the goals in terms of this existing the existing scheme was in the effort to maintain the existing vehicular entrance points along West Rocks Road and Aiken Street. And then you also saw the ability to take advantage of the natural contours of the site in order to develop a multi-level school. This image describes the relationship of the spaces that would comprise the proposed new school. The boundary that is larger circle in cyan we refer to as common spaces, such as the auditorium, which we're in now, the cafeteria. The central office was intended to be literally central. I should say the administrative offices are intended to be central to the school. And then to the southern and western corner of the site, we proposed introducing a three-story academic wing. Because the site slopes downhill, we were establishing the common spaces on the single level that's the same elevation approximately as the main athletic field. The practice field, which is further to the south, is actually about a story below. And so we were proposing a three-story scheme, which had its lower level one level below, and its upper level one level above the commons level. I'll mention also that we saw some interesting features on the existing site, including the terraced seating that is currently utilized, I think, to observe athletic events in the fields. And we also, the yellow line with arrowheads is intended to suggest a connection that brings a vehicular connection around the site, which is desirable both from a safety standpoint and from the facilities management standpoint. Thank you. So this image is a proposal for the developed site plan. We have the new building that I described with the commons, again, located on the existing field. To the this north and west of that is a bus drop-off, which would be accessed from Aiken Street. The parent drop-off would enter off of West Rocks and make its way through the parking lots and connecting driveway to drop students on the southeast side of the proposed construction. And that would permit us to have complete separation between the two different types of traffic flow. It also affords a fairly extensive queuing length for the parent drop-off, which gets the cars off of the main streets that feed to West Rocks. As I mentioned, on the lower level, we have the academic wing, and that's organized around a central courtyard. The grouping of parking lots around the perimeter of the building was intentional to provide focused parking for after-hours events. It also helps us incorporate more green space within the site instead of having large expanses of parking. And then after the new construction is complete, the students and administration would be moved to the new facility. The existing West Rock schools would be demolished, and the athletic fields of comparable size and quality would be replaced in the area that's currently occupied by the school. These are two floor plans of the proposed building. On the right-hand side is the main level, which connects from the common spaces above and to the intermediate level of the academic wing below, the square wing, the bottom of the plan. On the the left-hand side, we're describing the lower level. Each of the spaces in the classes are comprised of around two cohorts of 5 classrooms. And each classroom is designed to occupy approximately 24 students. The 3 levels of the building, the academic building would provide the natural separation between the 3 different grades. And each of the standard classrooms is intentionally identical in order that the district can ultimately decide how they would distribute the different classes. Supplementing the standard classrooms are resource rooms and faculty spaces, support spaces associated with small group learning. We've also incorporated in this proposed design the school's science program and specialty science spaces as well. This image describes the common spaces, and I've neglected to mention, but at the top of the plan, which is difficult to see in this view, I'm going to back up. The auditorium stage is at the top left-hand side, and we're utilizing the existing terraced seating on the exterior of the building as a means of offering an indoor-outdoor stage. So the idea would be that we would incorporate an exterior door that would lift on the back side of the stage, and people could have an outdoor seating experience watching a presentation. The door could also be closed, and a more conventional presentation with the auditorium would be provided. We sized the auditorium to accommodate half of the student population, which is in keeping with the state's regulation for reimbursement associated with the population of the school. So the stage and auditorium we've spoken about, we've organized noise-making spaces like the band and music room and the gymnasium as far away from the academic spaces as we could. Below the gymnasium is building services and the food service area, including the cafeteria. On the opposite side of the building, we would have a proposed media center, and then centrally located admin spaces, which would provide control over secure entrances on either side of the corridor. The academic wing can actually be closed at the 2 double doors that you see at the top of the plan. And so after hours, the common spaces can be utilized independent of the academic spaces. As I mentioned before, we have science and specialty spaces. There's a computer lab, and on the upper floor, a visual arts program. And those are intentionally located closer to the common spaces so that the classrooms that are located toward the bottom of the plan are more independent, more separated from the overall class space. We also are proposing an outdoor learning space organized about a central courtyard. And so that's a space that can be utilized by any of the different grades. This last plan is the uppermost floor. And again, it's very similar to the lower two floors by design. And then we've included here in this slide the analysis that the state provides for space standard. We are forecasting a project that's just under 121,000 square feet, which is in keeping with what we're calculating that the state will reimburse Norwalk, something just shy of 122,000 total square feet. So this initial design, although it's not been fully developed around ed specs, is comparable to what the state would support. And it's also been informed by the spaces that are currently offered within the existing middle school. Thank you.
So this presentation gives you a perspective of what is possible and what is being envisioning for the project. Now we want to transition into our Q&A section. I just want to remind the audience online as well as in person that for those of you online, if you have questions that you want to ask regarding the proposal, please click on the Q&A button and write your questions, and the moderators will read your questions to the panel. Those of you here with us in person, there are index cards circulating. Please write your questions on the index cards if you haven't done so already, and pass them forward so that the moderators can read them to the panel. Moderators, we're ready.
Great, wonderful. Thank you very much again for coming. So the first question is, what was the process to evaluate the need to rebuild West Rock School? It's actually a couple of parts. Is that report public? And is the state going to reimburse the city for outstanding debt associated with recent updates to the building?
I'll probably ask you to read that second part, but it seems like it's a two-part question and two different people will answer it. So the process by which we evaluated the facilities was a 2021 study by Newman DLR that the superintendent and the board at the time had commissioned, and it gave an in-depth assessment of all of the facilities, and it gave them a rating. That can be found on our website. And that feasibility study is under the facilities department in our website. And there you could see what the results are for West Rock, so for any other school. I believe that's the first part of the question. And do you mind repeating the second part?
Not a problem. And the other question was, is that report public, which you answered?
Yep.
And then is the state going to reimburse the city for outstanding debt associated with recent updates to the building?
Yep. Good.
I think the projects that they may be referring to might be the window replacement that was done about 8 years ago or so. That would be something that we would explore with the state when we submit our grant application, is that we could request that be forgiven.
Great. So the next question is, what will happen to the youth leagues currently using the fields?
The project is set to break ground in 2028, and those youth leagues can use the fields at Norwalk High School or other fields because those will be brought back online. We went through an extensive process by making sure that all fields were still accessible to the youth leagues and other folks while we're doing the Norwalk High P-TECH project. And we would have to engage in a similar process for this one. However, the Norwalk High P-TECH fields being brought back on will alleviate some of that. You want to add anything? No.
Yeah, we anticipate the construction to be about 2 years. Again, like Sandra says, during that period of time, the reason why we started in the spring of 2028, that's the strategy here, is that the Norwalk High School facility would be open in that fall. And so we will capture the use of those fields. There's two, the main field, the sport complex is going to be open, as well as a secondary field, which is a soccer and softball field. That's going to be open in the fall of 2028. So we try to synchronize these events, and then during construction, it's about 2 years, and then we're going to start on rebuilding the, once we move in the new building, we can demolish the existing building, and we construct a new field with I think you saw on the presentation before, it's a main field as well as an accessory field to that new complex.
Thank you so much. So what does the $150 million include? Infrastructure costs, field demo and replacement, busing kids to other fields?
The proposed, I think it was 125 million, if I'm not mistaken, would include, yes, the construction and demolition of the existing building, as well as the replacement of the fields.
If you don't mind, I just want to add a little bit more. I think that we are in the process, as you saw before, we had developed some conceptual plans. They're really conceptual. For the next few months, what we're going to be, next couple of months, we're actually going for a cost estimating process by a professional cost estimator. So the first number that we look at is based on really straight, abstract square footage costs, and we are thinking that would be $125 million or so. That's include all the improvement on site, building and replacing the field and all that stuff. But at the same time, is that number is just the first number coming up. It's not a budget number yet. So by end of December, we will have a better number that we can present to the public. So that's the number at that time. That's the number we should be focusing on. Right now, we are always asked about what this project going to cost, and that's the first pass without actually a full design as well as analysis of many conditions and environmental conditions and structural conditions, sub-bay conditions, and all that other stuff. So it is the first number that came up, but I think when we talk about dollar amount, budget number for this project, it really comes out by the end of December. So I think we should focus on that at that point, and not so much the number in front of us today. The $125 million we talk about is really, it's really what's on site. We are still looking at other things that off-site location, including drainage improvements, other things that would be necessary. So that potential is another number. So again, it's a complex process in terms of estimating and design, but this is really the very, very first step in terms of analyzing what we're going to do, how we're going to do it, and when we're going to do it. So I think that's all I have. Thanks.
So another sort of finance question. How will we afford this project? What are we paying now for the 3 or 4 other new schools?
We have long conversation with our finance department. We look at the ability of the city to finance projects, major school constructions. I mean, when we talk about school construction nowadays, whether it's renovations, new or new construction, it's multi-million dollars. It's nothing that it's really serious dollars that we look at. We have talked at potentially every 2 years doing a project versus 3 years. And through the finance department, our analysis and our board estimates and all, I'm not speaking for them, but I'm just saying, generally speaking, we are looking at potential we can do a major school construction project every 3 years. And this is also based on the reimbursable rates of 60%. And we talk about 60%, it's really, most of the construction, when you do a new construction project, you can do 60%, but some of the other things, just a little more detail, is that certain area like field construction and other things that maybe it's a reduced reimbursement rate. So not everything we do is 60% reimbursement. I think something like, a field, because the community uses it besides the school, I think they reimburse us at 50% or 60%, right? So those are a little more detail in terms of financial aspect of it. But again, we're looking for every 3 years or so, we do a major improvement project. That's the financial affordability of the city in an effort to maintain our bonding abilities.
Also, we fund this process through the capital budget process, and that's why it's so important and why we always talk about having a AAA bond rating by all the major rating agencies, because we can pay out less money, lower interest rates. This year we had 15 people bidding for our bonds because we are so fiscally stable in the city of Norwalk, so we're very happy about that as well.
Thank you, Mayor. So how can we justify tearing up a perfectly good park that's only a few years old? West Rocks doesn't need a full replacement. This will add another $50 to $60 million in taxes. Can we put on the ballot and let the community decide?
You want to read that again?
Of course, yeah. So the first part, how can we justify tearing up a perfectly good park that's only a few years old?
Are they talking about the field behind the school?
Correct, yes.
By the time we do any work, it's going to be 8 years old, which is kind of at the end of, reaching the end of its useful life, and it would need a lot of repair. So the best way to do this in order to have the students be able to attend the school is to keep them here, build the new school, then put them in the new school and tear it down and then build a new field. But the field that we're talking about is far older. I know time goes by quickly, but it'll be about 8 years old by the time we do anything there.
Thank you. So the other part of the question, West Rocks doesn't need a full replacement. This will add another $50, $60 million to our taxes. Can we put this on a ballot and let the community decide?
Well, that's a process that would have to go through a referendum. I would imagine there would be a process that could happen if there was a large contingent of people that were looking to have that happen. I would imagine there's a process, but I couldn't answer the question.
Thank you. Again, with the park or the field, please let the public know how much money was invested in the athletic field complex, and why was it installed if you were planning to demolish it? You answered some of that already, but I think there's a cost component of this, of the invested on the athletic field. I think they just needed to know.
I do not know how much that is, so I can research it and provide that information as a subsequent following this town hall meeting. I don't know what the dollar amount was. It's kind of an interesting perspective in a way, because I think whether it's a softball field, baseball field, or soccer field, or roof, or infrastructure building, I think we always need to continue to improve it. We are potentially looking for more buildings, and we're looking for West Rock School in 3 years. We got to look at what's 6 years from now, what we're going to do. And we need to continue to invest money in our school buildings. But the strategy here is that knowing what we want to do in the future, we will put an improvement in buildings. Similarly, I think we requested capital budget money last year to fix this roof, but we are not requesting multi-million-dollar, $1 million, whatever it may be, kind of thing, to replace the roof. I think we requested, what, 200, 300,000? So that it's intended to carry enough life that we can provide the building with safety, environment for kids to get education in the building. But at the same time, we're not asking to put a new roof in. So, but we still had to do all the right things. We did this bathroom 3 years ago, I think. Some of the bathroom in this building a few years ago. The original request was for about $1.5 million. But as we're thinking about we may need to renovate or to demolish this building, our strategy wasn't to completely gut the bathrooms and replace it. We do a little more than a facelift. We actually replaced partition, we painted polyurethane, epoxy painted the floor and walls and stuff. So it's a significant improvement, but not a gut renovation. So our strategy was that at that point, 3 years ago, was thinking that sometime in the future, West Rock School will get improvement or demolition. So we did improvement that give us life of maybe 7 to 10 years. So there is start planning on that strategy. The soccer field was the concept of building the artificial turf soccer field was before the time we start thinking about replacing the school. So I think that kind of decision happens. We're doing it for places that we do not at this time we don't plan it. We need to do the improvement that's necessary to keep the facility in a acceptable and desirable state. So again, the soccer field was done before this concept came up.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe.
Actually, if I could just add to that very quickly. We work on, try this again. We work on school projects throughout the state of Connecticut. I'm not having an issue with it. There we go. I just wanted to add, we have worked on school projects all over the state of Connecticut, and the opinion that was expressed by the comment that the building doesn't need a full replacement or something to that effect is really something that we hear very regularly, really throughout the state. I want to just highlight the excellent video that was provided earlier to describe the existing condition, and also repeat the comment that Mayor Rilling made about the age of this school. There was a period in time when the state of Connecticut funded and actually actively promoted the funding of renovation projects. They even did so by adding additional reimbursement incentives for that. But that has changed, and I think the state has recognized that trying to refurbish a building of this age to a like-new status very regularly doesn't ultimately achieve that goal. So I think there is some wisdom in considering a new building. Certainly both options, I assume the district will explore as the design process continues. But I would say that new construction has many benefits over renovation of existing facility.
Thank you. So these next two questions are related to each other, so I'm just going to use this as multi-part questions. Is there any consideration for the homeowners whose properties border the school property? And then, fencing for security reason, trees for screening, security cameras, gates to block driveways, and then, of course, the drainage and the runoffs itself, too. So you can answer that however you want.
I think one of the things one of the things that we should look at, instead of saying all the right things, I think we should look at all the projects that we completed recently. That's including Jefferson and Ponus and Cranberry and South Norwalk School and Norwalk High School. I think the City of Norwalk makes an extensive effort in terms of respecting the neighbors, or our neighbors. And I think this, as a city, we have the right to upgrade our building, to provide education, quality spaces for our students and taxpayers, kids and all. But at the same time is that we do respect that relationship. A lot of times it doesn't, it's not like a perfect environment. It's like my house, when there's a few lots in the neighborhood that's going through construction. and that there's jackhammering going on and stuff. So there are certain things that we cannot avoid. It's come down to like some noise, some different things that go on the construction, the related construction. But at the same time, as we respond to those concerns and questions regularly, at Norwalk High School, we actually have a truck that go out and do dust control. And we have a staff person that actually go wet down the soil when it's dry season. We do hear complaints occasionally, and we follow up on those. So I think all I can promise you is that we take every effort to screen along the construction site, provide access to the neighbors, and understanding that the existing schools still have pick up and drop off that we need to respect. And all of that gets into part of our strategy to develop the project. So again, I think we've been pretty successful in the project that we completed in recent years. I think that's our track record. I think we should want to look at that. Again, there's always some very specific individual issue, and then we always respond to them. I think that's important to note. Thank you.
We also, I mentioned the Cranberry School and now the new Norwalk High School. With the Cranberry School, we maintained very close communications with all the neighbors. And we made actually a lot of concessions regarding design, regarding noise abatement and other things, because we heard from the neighbors. Obviously, when you live in a neighborhood and there's going to be a major construction project, there's inconvenience. And we understand that. But we count on the neighbors to tell us what's happening, what they're concerned about, and how we can make things better. But in the long run, once we end up with a beautiful new school, the property values in the neighborhood has been proven go up significantly because people want to live near schools, their kids can go to school, and it actually ends up being something that benefits the neighborhood.
Alan, do you want to talk about the drainage assessment? That was the last part of the question, was around drainage.
I didn't hear that. Drainage assessment. Yes, we actually, this is the very beginning of a school construction project. This is the first time we really talk about it in a little more detail and showing publicly the design. The only two steps we went through so far is we went to the facility committee of Board of Education, as well as Land Use and Building Management Committee of Common Council. There's no actions taken. It's really for that information. And we are looking, part of this whole process is that if the city and the Board of Education decide that we want to move forward with this project, the next first step, there's two things. One is that we had to develop education specs that outline the school building program. That's required by state, and that needs the Board of Ed approval. The second thing that we need to do is beginning and end of December, the city has our standard capital budget process that the Board of Ed will be submitting requests to the city for funding for this project. The city, by state requirement, the city is required to actually fund the entire project, approve the entire funding for the entire project. And then we'll submit a request for reimbursement approval by June 30th of next year. So this is all kind of the planning process. There's many opportunities for the public to participate in terms of seeing the evolution of the design, as well as the funding aspect of it, as part of the capital budget process. And also, these items will come up to the Land Use and Building Management Committee, as well as Board of Facility Committees, I would say somewhat regularly. May not be every month, but so we as a staff have the responsibility to update both committees, both from Common Council as well as Board of Education. In terms of capital budget requests, in terms of the drainage thing, we hear that there's no secrets. I mean, there's been discussion about putting in ball field and water, stormwater issues. We will meet with DPW. As part of this project, we are required, I just want to make it very clear, we are required to address any issue that we find. And I'm looking to potentially submit another two requests to the city. One is building construction, the other is assessment. Most likely would be the assessment would be the watershed area, to evaluate the watershed area for this area by DPW, as well as future funding for improvement So this would be a very good positive step in terms of looking at and potentially addressing any kind of issue that we may find during the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. So moving into more the energy and comfort of sort of the new school, while a new school makes some sense, has the current design embraced a net zero energy school? This is a model that has shown great energy and money savings and increased comfort during any weather.
The conceptual design that we had generated doesn't specifically address net zero design, but I can say that over the past several years, as building technologies improved, the ability to get mechanical systems to function efficiently, and the development of the building envelope, it's very within reach, I would say, of almost any new construction to achieve a net zero building. So it's a commitment that I think the district has to weigh. There is some financial aspects associated with it. Some of that is offset by operating costs, but I think at the stage that we've developed the project thus far, it's a little premature. Perhaps as the project develops further, that's something that the district could look at in greater detail.
Thank you. Next question is, why is West Rocks prioritized? What about Wolf Pit, Tracy, or Nathan Hale?
That's a great question, because I'm sure that that's on a lot of our families' minds. And there's several reasons why. So one of the bases that we mentioned before is this extensive feasibility study that the district engaged in 2021, where West Rocks was demonstrated as one of the schools that were in a high priority. But there are also other factors. There's factors of what has happened since that study that has led to further problems and things that are not able to be deferred in terms of repair. And then there's also other considerations, like for a lot of school projects, you need swing space, or you need to be able to do construction on the site or besides it. And so there's many, many factors as to why West Rocks and why now. But it's not like it doesn't need to be repaired, but we do recognize that there are other schools that are also prioritized, and that other schools that we are actually going to be engaging in some repairs as we move forward, including the ones that you named, like providing air conditioning and providing other things in the meantime. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that, but
No, I was just going to add the piece of deferred maintenance. I think the mayor articulated that earlier. We have a lot of deferred maintenance across the organization that we have through the capital budget asked for resources to better efficiently maintain our facilities. Like you articulated, West Rock is one that the capital requests don't make sense anymore, and we're basically patching things up so that we have the possibility of renovating as new. But students need to continue to come to the facility. Students need to continue to be in a safe facility. So these capital improvements just allowed us to have a Band-Aid until we come up with a better solution, and building as new is the best solution that we see at this point in time.
Thank you. So this is more of a process question. Has the project been approved? By whom? And can Norwalk afford these capital projects? Do we fund upfront and hope for reimbursement? Because 30,000 homes cannot afford this.
I'll just answer the first part. Can Norwalk afford it? Norwalk can't afford not to do it, because the longer we delay, the more costly it's going to get. I think it's a 4 to 5% increased cost each year. So because of the lack of attention over the past decades, the schools have fallen into a significant state of disrepair. And we took the steps that we're going to identify what needs to be done in each of the schools and move forward in a logical way to make sure that we repair them or renovate them as new based on what the needs are. And so it does go through a capital process. It goes through the capital budget process. It gets approved by the Board of Estimate and Taxation. It gets approved by the Common Council after a lot of different projections and so forth. So.
Thank you. In terms of process-wise, I think I alluded to it before. We haven't approved anything yet. Again, this is the beginning of the process. With the request of capital budget money, assuming the Common Council vote on it by April of next year, we are in a position to submit to the state for reimbursable grant approval. So we will not move forward until we get approval by the state. So it's not like we go ahead and fund this, and regardless what the state do, we're going to build this. It's part of the process is to approve our portion of the money, go for the state for the approval for reimbursement purposes. And at that point, once the state reviews and approves it, then we start the architecture design. So right now, we are, Mike's office is being retained for a minimum contract just to do the conceptual phase. Mike probably doesn't want to hear this, but at some point we will go out for RFP for an architect to so that the project gets to a whole selection process and so on, hire an architect for the project at the end. But I think to answer the question, the project's starting, and there's no approval has been made, but there's many steps in between. There's many opportunities for the public to participate into input to the Common Council, to Board of Education. Ultimately, with the Common Council, assuming that this get further acceptance by the community as well as the Board of Ed and the Common Council, the funding will be approved by April of next year. I know I'm repeating myself a little bit. April, and then we are in the position with the education spec approved by the Board of Education, which they have not done yet. With all that information, we'll be able to submit it to the state for request for a reimbursement grant. Okay, so the process is just, again, starting. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Lowe. So going back to our neighbors here within the community, can you guarantee there won't be any water issues for the Sunrise Hill condo? And I think we're addressing the runoffs again and the water issues.
I don't know how to answer that question in the sense that I think I had a conversation with DPW, and I don't have information to answer. Not so much that we are not going to address anything. I think they require a lot of evaluations, and I think as we move forward with this project, we absolutely have to look at all the condition, all the runoff. I don't know, there's a lot of technical aspect of analyzing and answering that question, because there's surface runoff, there's underground, there's existing drainage conditions, pipes in the ground, what size they are, where they're going to. So all that need to be evaluated. So are we going to look at this issue? Yes. Are we going to look for funding to evaluate it? Yes. And ultimately, it's like, in order to implement this project, we have to figure out how to move this water off-site, and we are not going to dump it onto a neighbor's yard. It's just not permitted by any kind of city standard, a state standard. So that's not going to happen. But at the same time, it's whether the neighbor has a current issue or not. I have no idea because I'm not part of DPW. But at the same time, I recognize that the DPW is looking at these things, and we have for this project we have very specific requirement that we need to assess, evaluate, develop strategies, and to make sure that this project meet all the state and local requirements, and we are not allowed to dump any water to the neighbor's yard kind of thing. So I just want to make that very clear.
Thank you. Switching again back to the planned school design. Design showed classroom capacity built for 28 students. What about bigger classes? And then the initial design reported 720 student capacity with growth, student capacity. With growth of the city, how long can this school accommodate capacity?
Yeah, this is actually a two-part question. I'm going to start with the first component. If I said 28 students, I misspoke. We had actually, well, we actually designed around 24, but the city contract with teachers has a maximum of 28. The size of the classrooms, I think, can easily accommodate up to 28 students. But at a 24 student per classroom calculation, that's where we arrived at the 720 total student occupancy. I will mention too, having completed projects for the City of Norwalk previously, we have also implemented strategies in the design of classrooms that are not necessarily initially standard classrooms, which allow for ebb and flow of class size. It's rare that every class that matriculates through the school will be of the same size. So we have strategies in the design of the schools to accommodate that fluctuation as well. And I'll pass this to Sandra to answer the other half.
So we engage on enrollment projections. So we have like professionals that actually do studies within our neighborhoods to look at birth rates and to look at what the projections are. And for the next 10 years, we're projected to be well within that range. Now, beyond that, we don't really have the capacity to determine if schools would ever go beyond 720 students, but that's well within the range that we're projected for the next 10 years. I hope that answers.
Thank you. This is more just repeating again what you said, Ms. Fayos, but where can we find the feasibility study? And you covered sort of the why prioritize of, versus other schools too, but if you can restate again where we can find the feasibility studies.
It's in our Norwalk Public Schools under departments, under facilities, but we do have a school construction website, so maybe we'll bring the study over into the school construction website just for greater accessibility. But right now, like if you were on your phone and you went on our website and you were to toggle under departments and then toggle under operations, you would find it under facilities. But we will bring it to the surface since people are asking for it, and maybe even link it to our FAQs.
Thank you. Switching gears again, going back to the current school and situation, how much work does the current building need if it was kept? Asbestos, plumbing, mold due to leaks, wiring due to technology changes?
I would say it would be rather extensive. As Mr. Lowe had mentioned, we have an allocation of about $250,000 just to put Band-Aids on the roof. The pipes are leaking also. We've replaced quite a few. That is the drainage pipes. The boiler is not working all that well. This is a steam system, and steam systems require a lot of work. So I would say we would be in very high numbers if we would continue running this school as opposed to replacing it, just the maintenance itself.
Another thing is that, and you would see this in the feasibility study, is that the current classroom size is really small. So the classroom for 28 students doesn't really allow for students to even collaborate with one another. Some of them have to sit in rows, or they end up being pretty squished if they're working in groups. And so that space, that constricted space is also something that would be really challenging to actually be able to expand and still have the number of classrooms required to service the students. And Dr. Reynolds, I don't know if you wanted to add to that, but you live it every day.
I would just add science classrooms specifically. That was part of the feasibility study, and that was on the top of the list. It's outdated. It's a traditional science classroom labs, which are really unusable due to the piping, old Bunsen burner, the faucets, which really precludes students from even accessing half of the classroom, and that makes up a large number of our classes, especially as we're continuing to grow in technology and STEM and some of our other classes.
Great, thank you so much. So it was mentioned about predicting sort of population growth over time, Ms. Fayos, but have we considered what are the expectations or put on the apartments units are going up by the hundreds despite local community opposition? What expectations are put on these developers to financially contribute to the schools and capital projects their tenants will reap the benefit of?
The question is, it's about the new developments and if there's any expectations of the developers to contribute so that the residents of those developments have some skin in the game, I guess.
That usually goes to the Planning and Zoning Department and the Planning and Zoning Commission. And the developers do contribute to the infrastructure around the area that they're building. With, like I said, infrastructure, upgrading things. The misconception, I think, is that the developments that are happening in Norwalk are putting a strain on the student body or the population of the City of Norwalk schools. That's not the case. Most of the people that are moving into the apartments are either young professionals that work in New York City or work in the area, don't have children, or empty nesters who sell their homes and want to downsize. We're finding, I think, last number I knew was something like 78 students had been brought into Norwalk, 78 students. Also, they have a misconception that these apartments and buildings are causing a strain on our wastewater treatment plant or that we're using more water, and neither one of those issues are true because we have a capacity of our wastewater treatment plant of around 19 million gallons a day, and we're right around 12 or 13. So we don't have a problem there. And as far as using more water, if you check with the First District Water Company or South Norwalk Electric and Water, you're finding out that we're using less water than we did 15 or 20 years ago because the new efficient appliances and so forth. And plus, people are more conscientiously conservative about using water. So we're in pretty good shape, and we monitor that very closely. We work with water companies to kind of let us know what's happening. That's why sometimes you'll say here that we call a water emergency because we haven't had rain and we have a drought. It's not because people are using more water or that the buildings are using more water. It's because we have a drought and we haven't had rain for 3 or 4 weeks or 5 weeks, and it's been very warm. So a lot of those things that we're hearing are not really true. And we have more information. If anybody really wants to contact us, we can provide greater information in greater detail.
And we have the numbers because Mike Zuba, who does our projections, actually parses out the students that live in the development. Oh, I apologize, not the development, but the complexes, and we can add that to the FAQs. We actually have that data.
Thank you again. We have 15 minutes, and if there's any other additional questions, I have one more here online, so feel free to fill up sort of an index card. So are there any alternate student drop-off plans being considered as this current rendering places a new, busy road around building up against and on top of Rudolph Lane residents?
It may have been misinterpreted, but the connecting drive that was described in the conceptual site plan is not actually a through thoroughfare. The residents, or I should say the parents that drop and enter from West Rocks would actually loop back and return back to West Rocks to exit. And the buses that stage on the north side of the site are actually utilizing the circular drive and going back out onto Aiken Street. So in neither instance would vehicular traffic of any volume continue through the site during, at least in terms of this particular site plan design. I think it's worth stressing again, though, that as Alan has already stated, that this is, or Mr. Lowe has already stated, this design is very preliminary. It doesn't necessarily reflect the final design. It is a means to establish kind of a test to confirm that the parameters of the site, the parameters of the school design can be accommodated by the site, and also a means by which the district can determine the cost, projected cost of the project.
Thank you. Will the new West Rocks end up spending less per year on utilities because of improved energy efficient systems?
Yes, typically, as Michael Lasasso, the architect, stated earlier, is with the new building technologies, materials, the utility usage on new buildings is typically much less than what you would be spending currently on this building, due to, even though the windows were replaced about 8-9 years ago, the exterior walls with the new technologies and new construction methods for insulation is much more significant than you would get or be able to get out of these existing walls. So yes, we would anticipate a savings in utility costs and operational costs.
Thank you. So really, another online question. What is the current student capacity at West Rocks?
There's the capacity and then there's enrollment. So the current student enrollment is 637.
And the capacity?
725. Yes.
Thank you. So has the budget taken into consideration inflation rates and end of project expenses such as demolition, hauling, and site restoration, including fields?
Initially, yes, and as Mr. Lowe had stated previously, this is a very preliminary budget that we are in the process of looking into much further in much more detail. We will take the conceptual design that Antonazzi has provided. We will have a professional cost estimator evaluate that design and provide us with an estimate that will include escalation to the midpoint of construction. So yes, escalation would be included in that final number.
Thank you. There was another question here. Not sure if it's connected to the new construction, but morning drop-off and afternoon pickup are both very busy. Again, are there any other ideas to relocate parent drop-off and pickup?
I'm not sure how to expand on that, except to say that the designs that we presented tonight are the only ones that have been considered thus far. I'll stress again that the parent drop-off does have an extremely long queuing length, essentially the length more than 3/4 of the length of the total project site. So that's a substantial number of cars that are being brought off of the adjacent roads. But again, as the project develops and the district issues RFP for further design consultants, I'm sure alternatives will be considered to optimize the site and take into account any issues that haven't thus been brought to light.
So we still have about 9 minutes, and I think we've covered all the questions already at this point.
I just wanted to add something. You know, we find ourselves in a very unique but difficult position because we have 21 school buildings, or now with the new South Norwalk School, many of which have been neglected for many years. So we have to have a plan. We can't obviously do everything all at once. We have to be very aware of the debt service that we're incurring upon our citizens, but we have to do something, because the longer we wait, the worse it's going to be. The costs are going to go up. The buildings are going to fall into a greater disrepair. Again, I think what has to happen, the key is that once a building is built, we need to put money in the capital budget, not just for building new schools or building or paving new roads or whatever, which is important, but also to maintain the buildings that we do have. Because if we neglect the buildings that we build, whoever is coming down the road is going to find themselves in the same position. So we've got two choices. We can have a 25-year plan, which we do, or we can do nothing. I know it can be very painful sometimes when you're seeing about building a new school and you don't understand why, but it's necessary to do that, because buildings are starting to fall apart, as you saw Mr. Reynolds' presentation about what the different parts of this school looks like. So it's really, really critical that we do something now rather than wait later.
So if there are no further questions, I want to...
One more that came in. Yeah, and I think, Dr. Reynolds, I think this is for you, but is there intent to carry on the dual language program in the new West Rocks?
Yeah, we have no plans on changing the trajectory of any of our programs, especially that they're thriving, dual language, marine science, as well as our visual performing arts. So structurally, our new, the plan for a new facility would only enhance and grow the program as opposed to the opposite.
Thank you so much.
I thought somebody in the audience had a question.
So we know that this is a preliminary plan. As we move forward in the process, I think, Alan, you kind of talked about this a little bit, but like, where can residents see those updates that are going to be made? How often will they be revised? Again, where can those updates be seen, and how can people continue to participate in the process?
There are several ways, and we have done this now quite a few times, so I think we keep refining our processes, but we will have other community meetings. We did so for the South Norwalk School, I think 3 different community meetings. Yep, we did 3 separate ones just for the community to be able to come in at various stages and give us feedback on the preliminary designs and talk to them about what it is that they wanted to see on site and within their school. We will also always bring updates to the facilities committee, and so those are, you're able to give us public comments ahead of time or ask questions post the meeting, and we're happy to address that after the meeting. And then we would be making other presentations throughout for various boards. But the school construction website is another site that you should go to just to see the latest plans and any sort of updates. And on the school construction website, you can find my contact, and you can find Alan Lowe's contact. Yes, it's there. And you can find our contacts. And if you email us, we email you back, and we actually try to find the information that you were requesting if you needed it prior to one of the meetings.
Sandra, can you just clarify, our facilities meetings are the 3rd or the 4th? The 3rd Wednesday at 6 o'clock. So.
Yeah, but we do advertise those, and especially now that we're engaging in another project, we will make sure to just touch base with the folks that are the most critical. The same way we do for the Norwalk High P-Tech project, we always involve the King Street neighbors and everybody in the neighborhood in terms of what those updates are.
I think it's important to know. I mean, I'm not part. I mean, that's board vet's process kind of thing. But just like this meeting, I believe the kids that benefit most from these projects, it's actually in the elementary school right now, and they're lower grades too. They're not like the third or fourth graders. So I think it's I think we are aware of that. And I think as a part of the outreach, it's really reaching out more than. I know we need to have conversation, continue conversation with West Rock families. But at the same time, we do reach out, even for this meeting, reach out to the feeder school, because they ultimately are the new kids that are coming into this building. So it is very important for us to engage them. The parents at this point may not be very focused on the middle school, but yet we are aware of their needs, the future need of those kids and coming up the grades in the future. So we are sensitive to that relationship that we need to nurture with the elementary school, younger elementary school, not even the third and fourth graders. Really, it's like kindergarten, first grade kind of thing. So it's a very conscious perspective and strategy that we have in terms of getting input from the community.
And Alan, as part of this process, we were made a concerted effort to make sure that the schools that are feeder patterns to West Rocks were invited, and made sure that all the families across the district were informed of today's meeting, because we know of that gradual impact that it will have in the future students that were coming to West Rocks. So I want to take a moment to thank everyone that was here this evening, and for those of you who joined us online for this important town hall. Like Sandra articulated, we've in the past had a number of engagements, and this time we wanted to start a little bit earlier to start learning from you what are some of the things that are important to you, but also for us to have an opportunity to inform you of some of the thoughts already circulating around this project. I want to thank the city for being a partner in this work and leading a lot of this process. Alan and team, the mayor and everyone else, and the board, the facilities team that will play a vital role and already started to play a role in this process. And thank you to Principal Reynolds for the amazing video that will further educate the public about the conditions of the building, and for working through the challenges of this complex as we continue to educate the children of Norwalk. I want to wish everyone a great evening, and thank you for being here.